Have you ever questioned why certain individuals seem to gravitate toward you so intensely? Almost as if they're enchanted by your very presence. It may seem like it's your personality, your appearance, or your charisma that captivates them, but what if there's a more profound explanation? One that lies hidden beneath the surface. Carl Jung, one of the founding figures in modern psychology, believed love is far from a random event. In fact, Jung proposed that people fall in love with you for only two deep psychological reasons, and both are rooted in the mysterious terrain of the unconscious mind. To grasp these ideas, we must first let go of the fairy tale notion that love is merely a magical coincidence. Sure, it might feel like lightning striking out of nowhere, but Jung argued that this instant chemistry follows a pattern and inner structure forged through years of emotional experience, hidden wounds, unmet needs, and subconscious desires. What looks like a spontaneous spark is often the culmination of a silent psychological script. At the center of this phenomenon is something called projection. Each of us carries within our psyche certain fragments, pieces of who we were, who we wish we could be, or qualities we've repressed due to fear, shame, or social conditioning. These inner images don't disappear. Instead, they lie dormant, lingering in the shadows, waiting to be activated. And often, they get projected onto someone who subconsciously resembles those internal parts. Take, for example, someone who's always played it safe in life. They've grown used to hiding their emotions and playing by the rules. When they meet someone bold, spontaneous, and emotionally expressive, they might feel magnetically attracted to them, not because of that person's resume, but because that person awakens something deep within. That something is a repressed desire for freedom and authenticity. The attraction is real, but what powers it is the unconscious yearning to become more whole. This leads us to reason one. You embody something they're missing. It's not simply a case of opposites attract. It's that opposites often mirror parts of ourselves that we've disowned. A highly rational individual might fall for someone who embraces emotion with abandon. An introvert could be fascinated by a vivacious extrovert. A perfectionist may feel captivated by someone carefree and chaotic. The person becomes more than just a partner. They become a psychological bridge to something unexplored within. But here's where things get complicated. If the other person doesn't realize that what they admire in you is actually a reflection of their own potential, they might cling to you in an unhealthy way. The attraction shifts from inspiration to dependency. They may come to rely on you emotionally, seeing you not as a real person, but as a symbol of their own growth. And the moment you act outside of their idealized image, when you show your flaws, your struggles, your raw humanity, the illusion starts to crumble. Projection, though powerful, is fragile. It creates connections based on fantasy, not reality. So when the reality sets in, disillusionment often follows. Many relationships built on these projections, and not because the love wasn't real, but because it was never rooted in truth to begin with. Carl Jung didn't stop at projection. He dove even deeper into the unconscious with his powerful theory of the anima and animist, two archetypal forces that further explain why we're drawn to certain individuals so intensely. According to Jung, every man carries within him an unconscious image of the feminine, known as the anima, while every woman harbors an unconscious image of the masculine, called the animus. These are not just romantic ideals or cultural stereotypes. They are emotional blueprints shaped by our earliest experiences, especially our relationships with our parents, and further molded by myths, stories, and societal symbols passed down through generations. These internal images operate in silence, buried deep within our psyche. And then, one day, without warning, we meet someone who seems to match them almost perfectly. When this happens, the attraction is often immediate, intense, and unexplainable. You might feel like you've known this person your whole life, as though your souls are reuniting after lifetimes apart. The emotions are overwhelming, the bond electrifying. But Jung would tell us, this is not destiny. This is the psyche responding to a familiar inner pattern, your unconscious, seeing its own reflection in another person. That leads us to reason two. You awaken a powerful internal image that lives inside them. You don't necessarily resemble someone they know, nor do you have to say or do anything extraordinary. It's your essence, the symbolic energy you emit, that stirs a deep unconscious memory within them. This memory is not a literal one. It's emotional, mythic, archetypal. You activate something that's been silently waiting inside them, perhaps for years, an image shaped by dreams, longings, childhood needs, and even ancestral patterns. This is why the attraction can feel so irrational. It's not about your RSUM, your lifestyle, or even your personality. You become a symbol, a vessel for an inner story they've been carrying. And because symbols are sacred in the unconscious mind, they often respond with reverence, passion, even obsession. It's not you they love, it's what you represent. But there's a hidden danger here. When someone falls for an image they've projected onto you, they're not truly seeing you. They're in love with a fantasy, one they crafted long before you entered the picture. As the relationship progresses and your humanity becomes more visible, your quirks, your flaws, your contradictions, the fantasy starts to crack. Suddenly, what felt divine becomes ordinary. What once seemed like soul recognition begins to feel confusing, even disappointing. This disillusionment is not a sign that the love wasn't real, it's a signal that the illusion has faded. And when the fantasy collapses under the weight of truth, many relationships begin to unravel. It's not because the people involved are flawed, it's because no one can live up to an archetype forever. Yet, this isn't a failure. In Jung's eyes, these experiences are not mistakes, they're opportunities. Encounters driven by projection and archetypal attraction are powerful catalysts for self-discovery. They stir the depths of our being, revealing wounds, desires, and forgotten parts of ourselves that are longing to be reclaimed. Whether the relationship lasts or not, its impact on our inner world can be transformative. Despite the confusion and heartbreak that often follow projection-based relationships, Jung saw immense value in them. He believed that love, especially the kind that feels irrational, intense, and consuming, serves a deeper function in our psychological evolution. Love is not just an emotional experience, it's a tool for transformation. Every person we fall for acts as a mirror, showing us aspects of ourselves that we may have hidden, ignored, or never even realized were there. Sometimes, the people we're drawn to reflect our untapped potential qualities, like courage, spontaneity, creativity, or vulnerability that we've long buried beneath layers of fear or conformity. Other times, they bring out our deepest insecurities, fear of abandonment, shame, inadequacy, or emotional dependence. And still others awaken dormant parts of our spirit, our desire to grow, our hunger for meaning, our longing to be truly seen, no matter the form. Each of these relationships contributes to what Jung called individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming whole. Individuation is not about becoming perfect. It's about integrating all parts of ourselves, even the ones we've rejected. And love, with all its chaos and intensity, accelerates that process. In loving another, we discover ourselves. In being loved, we confront our shadows. Let's say someone falls in love with you, not because of your words or your deeds, but because you remind them unconsciously of a long-forgotten dream they once held dear. Perhaps your passion for life, your rebellious spirit, or your ability to be emotionally open resonates with something inside them they gave up on. You become more than just a partner. You become a symbol of who they could be, a gateway to their future self. On the flip side, think about the people you've loved the most. Were they perfect? Of course not. But somehow, they shook you to your core. They made you feel alive, or seen, or vulnerable in ways you couldn't explain. Maybe they broke your heart, challenged your beliefs, or forced you to face something painful. Jung would say, that's not a coincidence. These people weren't random. They were carriers of meaning. Their presence in your life, however brief or painful, was a synchronistic event designed to spark inner growth. Some people come into our lives like earthquakes. They disrupt everything we thought we knew about love, identity, and connection. And in the rubble they leave behind, we find pieces of ourselves we never would have discovered otherwise. Jung called these moments sacred encounters. They might not last. They might leave scars, but their purpose isn't permanence, it's awakening. So when someone falls in love with you, it might not be because of anything you're doing on the outside. It's often because, without realizing it, you represent a turning point in their inner world. You mirror something they're desperate to grow into, or something they lost along the way. And in loving you, they begin the journey of reclaiming it. It's essential to understand that these patterns, this dance of projections, reflections, and unconscious longings aren't inherently destructive. They only become harmful when we remain unaware of them. When we mistake projection for reality, when we chase idealized love instead of real connection, we end up stuck in cycles, falling for the same type of person, repeating the same emotional story, wondering why things always end the same way. Carl Jung emphasized that the path out of these cycles begins with awareness. Once we begin to recognize our projections and understand the inner images driving our desires, we no longer seek someone to complete us. Instead, we begin the more meaningful work of becoming whole within ourselves. And from that place of inner wholeness, love no longer needs to be a form of rescue. It becomes an act of genuine partnership. That means when someone falls in love with you in the future, they might still be drawn to something symbolic in your essence. But if they're conscious of their own inner world, they won't expect you to fulfill their unfinished stories. They'll appreciate your presence, without needing you to carry the weight of their unmet needs. Likewise, you'll approach love with clarity, recognizing when your heart is being stirred by real compatibility or simply by an old pattern knocking at your door. Jung's insights remind us that love is never just about the other person. It's always, in some way, a mirror reflecting parts of our psyche that are ready to evolve. Some people enter our lives to awaken joy, others awaken grief. Some are here to open us, others to break us. But all of them serve a sacred function, to guide us toward greater self-understanding. So, why do people fall in love with you? Because you either reflect something they urgently need, or you activate something they once lost or forgot within themselves. In both cases, the attraction is real, but the love is not entirely about you. It's about their psyche trying to grow, to heal, to move toward wholeness. And the same is true for you. The people who have stirred your soul weren't just romantic partners. They were psychological messengers, showing you what you're missing, what you fear, what you long for, and who you might become if you dare to grow. The lesson here is not to fear these connections, but to meet them with curiosity and consciousness. Instead of clinging to the illusion, embrace the invitation they offer, the chance to evolve, to know yourself more deeply, and to love more freely, not from a place of lack, but from fullness. So the next time you feel that magnetic pull toward someone or they toward you, ask yourself, what part of my soul is being called to awaken right now? In that question lies the true purpose of love. Not possession, not fantasy, but transformation.